In this video, I'm going to look at the preparation required before you start to use Beat Detective. What we need to try and identify is one of two things. Has this been recorded to a click? And if so, what's the tempo? Because I have no idea what the tempo is. Or do I need to create markers so that I get Pro Tools to conform to the performance? Now, I need to work this out because if I do this incorrectly, I might lose the performance because I've actually edited it to the grid. Whereas if I spend a bit of time and actually tell Pro Tools where the tempos change essentially by marking out certain points, I can then retain the grid to the performance. And then when it comes to editing later on, those edits will be to the drums, not to the rigidity of the grid that is kind of set out. So how do I go about finding the tempo? Well, there are a number of ways of doing this. So I've got my click track here, which I've muted, and you can create that by going up to here, go track, create click. But that'll come in a minute, so I can check it out. But first of all, I need to turn off the conductor. So I'm going to turn the conductor off. And now that means that the key command of T on the QWERTY keyboard means I can tap the tempo. So I'm going to hit play, and then what I need to do is double click up here. So I've got that highlighted and watch what goes on. So I'm going to hit play and then I'm going to tap T. So you need to do it for a couple of bars to get an idea. And that seemed to be hanging around 144, 143. Which kind of feels right. So I can maybe go with that. And if I hit the conductor track and then type that in, 143, well, that's looking like it's pretty good because the downbeat is on the 1. So if I hit play and then turn the click track on, that's not bad. It's pretty close, actually. I think 143 is definitely a goer. We can tell here that the first beat on the of the drums is not actually aligning to anything. But we know this is going to be beat 1. So we can actually tell Pro Tools, right, this is beat 1. So you do Command I, and that'll bring up this Adbar Meter. So I'm going to hit 1. I just need to press 1 because then Pro Tools will automatically change the rest of the values, and I'm going to click OK. So there's beat 1. So now you can see that it's shifted, and so now the downbeat of beat 1 is there. Now what I need to do is find the next beat. So I'm going to hit play. So it's I'm going to turn the click off actually as well to help me. So 4, 2. So there's beat 2. So let's go Command I again and say to Pro Tools, hey, there's beat 2. Now, you'll see that it's started to say, right, I think the tempo might be 145.7691, which is incredibly precise. A little bit quicker at the moment than what we worked out as 143. So let's go along and find the next beat. Now, I think it's going to be this one because that's the next kick drum downbeat. So I'm going to do Command I again, and I'm going to tell Pro Tools, hey, this is beat bar 3. Okay. Now, it's starting to slow down the tempo here. So I've gone from 145 to 142. Now, if I continue on with this and go to the next bar, which is going to be just bar 4, go Command I. There's bar 4. 142.5. And then I think there's bar 5. Start with bar 5 there. So Command I again. It's safe to assume by this point we could look at the average being anywhere between, so looking somewhere about 143 as well. So we could actually go through, and what I'm doing here instead is I could then jump a little bit further instead of doing it every bar. So that's the first 4 bars. So 4 bars going on. So if I now go to the next 8 bars, so 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, So that's where the next bar there is. And that's going to be, if I zoom into this, slow down. I'm going to put a marker in and say that's, tell Pro Tools, hey, that's 13. So I can then start to work in larger chunks, and that's actually looking pretty good. So I could go from 13 and then do another 8 bars. So 2, 3. So next me to bar 21. And I could say, right, that's 21. So I can start working and actually customizing then the tempo as I go through. And you can see it's starting to sit at this 143 up here. So it's working on a bigger value now. So I can gradually work through and work to a natural tempo that the drummer's played. So there we go. That's 2 ways of finding the tempo, and we can put the click on as well. So now if I go to the beginning. So there we go. 2 ways of finding the tempo. Just as a quick recap, turning off the conductor, making the T for the tap tempo, listen and tap along. So by double clicking on that, so you've got the value there, and then tapping the tempo with the T key to find the sort of average. And when you've done that, you can then put the tempo in. The other way is to then map out everything and find and tell Pro Tools where the one is. So that's using then Command I, or tab to transient first to find the first downbeat. Command I, enter the location of it. Pro Tools will then move so that it says bar 1. And you can either go through and do it sort of 1 bar at a time, or when you gradually start to find a rhythm for it, work in larger sections of sort of 4 or 8 bars. And the advantage to that, as I say, you retain the performance as well. And then when you start to do your edits of guitars and the basses and stuff, you're working to the drums and not the absolute grid of Pro Tools. And there we go.